What's up, everybody, and welcome into our review of the 2021 third generation Ford F-150 Raptor. This is the all-new generation of the Raptor based on the 14th generation F-150. This is the third time that Ford has done their amazing off-road variant of the F-150. It has become a legend at this point, and this new truck is better than ever. We're going to start by checking out the front of this truck, which is wide as usual. We've got the big marker lights, that lets you know that this truck is really wide. Those actually have to be there legally because this truck is so wide. We've got our very aggressive headlights. We've also got our marker lights here on the flared wheel arches, showing that this truck ends much wider than a normal F-150. I love how aggressive this truck looks in this awesome blue color. There's also a really cool orange available as well. For the first time ever on a Raptor, we've got fog lights from Rigid. We also have, as part of the same package, these off-roading lights that are automatically programmed to the auxiliary 1 switch. Now, Ford has those covered for legal reasons, but you can take them off and turn them on if you are going to go off-roading with this truck. Now, elsewhere in the front, we've got our big Ford logo up there. We've got our steel skid plate. This is going to protect the front end of the truck if you're going to be going over any types of off-roading terrain. We've got our tow hooks right here as well. I love the big Ford emblem up front, characteristic of a Raptor. We've got a really cool hood bulge right here that says Raptor on it. Very aggressive, very sporty. We've also got a decal package here. This is the Raptor with the 37-inch tire package, which is going to include these special decals. The 35-inch wheel gets a different decal package. Now, here's the 37-inch tire. First time they've ever put a tire this big on a truck. They're BF Goodrich KO2 tires, so extremely aggressive for off-roading. That's wrapped around a 17-inch bead lock wheel capable wheel, which is great. We've got our Fox racing shocks that we'll talk about a little bit more as we get it out on the road. This is the next generation of live valve technology. We've got our running boards as standard. You've got your Super Crew configuration with your lockable pin pad here. That's a very Ford thing. Now, back here, we have our decal package. I really like this. It's sort of like an off-road trail with the word Raptor written here. And 37 is going to designate that you have the bigger 37-inch tires. The 35-inch tires are what's standard, but these 37s really turn the Raptor into somewhat of a monster truck. At the back, we've got the big Ford applique across the back. You can get it without that, just a regular blue oval, but it looks a little bit weird like that. There's our 37, once again letting us know what we've got. And we've got our big exhaust pipes, not quite as big as the Ram 1500 T-Rex, but still pretty nice. And a still very aggressive design here on the back. We've got our power tailgate, which is optional. It is power up and power down, which is quite nice. So you just push a button and it will drop down. We've got some nice bed innovations here. We've got some rulers here, making this a great workspace, space for some pencils right here, a good amount of bed space, 5.5-foot bed back here. We've also got our power generator, which is quite cool. Not quite as powerful as what you get on the F-150 hybrid, but you can plug in some power tools right here, making the Raptor very useful on a job site. We've got our bed step, which Ford has been doing for a few years now, making it a little easier to get up into the bed of this truck because it is quite tall. And we've got some C-clamps right here, positions for your C-clamps. So if you want to clamp something to the bed without damaging it, that is a really nice feature as well. Overall, I love how the Raptor looks on the exterior. Now let's go ahead and hop on to the interior. We're going to start up front where the Raptor that we're driving has the 37 package, which is going to also upgrade the interior aside from giving you the bigger tires. We have the most aggressive seat option here. It's this really nice blue Recaro seat. You can get black seats as well that aren't quite as aggressive. I love how they have the Bang & Olufsen speakers in the headrest here, the suede all throughout, Raptor written on the backrest here. And these are very aggressive bolsters. chairs that hug you in quite nicely, but they're not uncomfortable. They're very, very comfortable seats that are heated and ventilated here on these suede parts. And we have like an orange stitching that goes with the blue. So blue and orange are the two main colors here. I love these seats, and it would make me think about getting the 37-inch tire package. We've got these red American flag emblems. That is part of this really cool interior here. I do love all of the premium materials in this cabin, and we'll talk about that as we move along inside. Push button start, of course, which is going to fire up our 12-inch infotainment screen and our 12-inch digital gauge cluster. We've got a very sporty steering wheel right here with these very aggressive thumb grips and nice metal paddles. You can tell they're metal because they do make a really nice metallic sound as you pull them. So that is quite nice. We've got Raptor written down here and some orange stitching with an orange 12 o'clock marker. Here in the gauge cluster, we can fiddle around with our drive modes and get some interesting things to pop up here if we play with the drive mode selector. We have many different drive modes to choose from over here on this little dial, and I'll show you as we cycle through some of them what that is going to look like. This is the main control here. You can also adjust the four-wheel drive settings from two-wheel high, four-wheel low, and four-wheel auto. So let's go ahead and play around with the drive modes. This is normal mode. We've got sport modes, going to tighten things up quite a bit. Good for driving it out on the road in some sporty driving situations. We've also got tow and haul mode. We can tow 80 to 100 pounds. Slippery mode in poor conditions. That's going to put us into four-wheel drive. We've got also our deep snow and sand mode as an off-road mode. We've got our Baja mode. That's your high-speed off-road mode. And then we've also got a rock crawl mode. That is going to be your slow-speed off-road maneuvers and things like that. It's going to put you into four-wheel low, but we're going to leave it in sport and normal for now. Next, I want to bring your attention to the steering wheel, where we have a bunch of different Mustang-like settings. You can change the steering from normal, comfort, and sport, and Baja as well. We've got our suspension modes, normal, sport, off-road. We've got an exhaust mode. You can change this quite a bit from normal, sport, and Baja, and even a quiet mode. This is very Mustang-like, and I think it is a really nice touch on the Raptor. Moving over to the infotainment screen, this is not too different from what you're going to get in a normal F-150, so I'm not going to focus too much on it. The basic highlights are it's 12 inches, very massive, Sync 4 infotainment with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. It's a little bit laggier than some other systems, but Ford can fix that in the future with over-the-air updates, so I'm not going to assault Ford too much on it. We've got tons of standard features here, heated and ventilated seats, as I mentioned, wireless charger. We've got the cup holders here. If you push this button, the shifter is going to fold forward as it does in normal F-150s. We've got a little bit of a nicer armrest here that says Raptor, and just like on the normal F-150, you can fold this forward to create a really cool workspace. I actually had some In-N-Out burger earlier today, and I ate it right on this center console, which was quite nice. Now, this is optional. You don't have to get this on a Raptor, I should note. Now, we've got some really nice interior materials up here. We've got this blue interior with a carbon fiber package. Now, the blue is only optional if you get the 37-inch wheel package. The carbon fiber you can get with any of the interiors. I think it looks quite nice. I think the Ram's carbon fiber is a little bit nicer, but the overall interior quality here is fantastic, and there is tons of storage space. And finally, we've got our auxiliary switches. There are 6 of them here. I absolutely adore playing around with these. If I were a kid right now, I would just be playing with these. Red leader, activate your thrusters and engage. I would just have tons of fun playing with these. They are a nice off-road feature. All right, so time to get the new 3rd generation Raptor out on the road, and we're going to start by talking about the engine, which might be the first bit of disappointing news, but hear me out because it's not as disappointing as you might think. The engine is a carryover from the 2nd generation Raptor. It's a 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 with 2 turbochargers, and it makes the same horsepower as it did in the previous generation Raptor. 450 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. So the performance, they haven't quoted me a 0 to 60 time, but theoretically, it should be about the same as the old model, 5.5 to 6 seconds, somewhere in that range. Still going out to a 10-speed automatic, and of course that's going out to the rear wheels, but you can obviously send that out to all-wheel drive if you so choose. Now, the engine might not be all new, but they have made some improvements to it. There is more torque at the low end of the rev range, meaning that you always have power. This truck does not feel slow. The 10-speed automatic transmission shifts extremely well. Just watch this. I'm going to go ahead and put my foot down. It shifts very quickly, and I've got smooth passing power. It definitely feels quick until you start getting into the highway speeds, at which point it's a big pickup truck. It's not going to accelerate that quickly at high speeds, but even the massive Ram T-Rex doesn't feel that quick when you're already going highway speeds. And that's the big thing we got to talk about here, the Ram T-Rex. Ford is aware that it exists, I assure you. They know that that has a 6.2-liter V8 with 707 horsepower. So you might think that it's a bit daft that Ford didn't do anything with the engine in here, but it's smarter than you might think. Because while I was driving the Ram T-Rex, I averaged about 9 miles per gallon. That's if I was trying. I actually got a little less than 9 miles a gallon. In this, I've been slogging it on some of these back roads. I'm still getting 12 mpg, and when I was just driving it on the highway, I was getting closer to 16, 17 miles per gallon. The actual EPA ratings are 15 mpg in the city on this, 18 on the highway, and that might not sound that great, but that's probably 50% better than what you're going to really get reasonably in the Ram 1500 T-Rex, and that's going to pay dividends in the usability of this truck. Ford says the EPA quotes this truck at a 500-mile range if you get the 36-gallon tank. That's a lot of miles that you could do in this truck, because when I drove the Ram T-Rex in practice, I only barely got a little over 200 miles out of it. So you can go further if you were going to, say, road trip this truck. And it is a phenomenal road trip truck. So we've got an electronically controlled Fox shocks with Ford's new live valve internal bypass shocks. Phenomenal off-road technology. We'll see that a little bit later, but it really helps it out on the road. This feels a lot more car-like even than the standard F-150 that I drove. You know, it has to. It has all of that amazing wheel travel. And in the back, unlike a regular F-150, which has leaf springs, we've got a new 5-link rear suspension with improved wheel travel, and that's going to help those wheels, whether you're on road or off, stay to the ground more frequently and put the power down better. So all of this just adds up to a very usable truck, and that's not the only way that they've made the Raptor more livable in this generation. We've got a little bit more payload, about 200 pounds, and the same on the towing. So you now have a 1,400-pound payload and a 8,200-pound towing capacity, which are a little bit better than last generation Raptor and pretty close to what you're going to get in the Ram 1500 T-Rex. The other thing that they've gone ahead and done, because the reason why, you know, the Ram T-Rex has an advantage over this is sound. That supercharged Hellcat engine sounds really good. This EcoBoost V6 is not really going to match that. However, Ford has done their best to try. So I showed you that exhaust button here on the steering wheel. We're going to go ahead and put the car into its sport setting. We're going to go ahead and slow down because there's nobody on this road. It's like the most empty road I've ever seen. And we're going to see what this engine sounds like at full tilt. Are you ready? All right, come to a complete stop and gun it. Let's hear a little bit of turbo lag and then all power. It sounds pretty good. It does not sound like I am driving a normal F-150. It definitely has like a nice wail to it, a very motorsportsy feeling, not dissimilar from the Ford GT, which also uses a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6. So I think if you were worrying that this thing wasn't fast enough, I think you're going to be just fine on that. But we'll drive it a little bit more spiritedly later on. In terms of just its daily drivability, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in its normal setting now. I already mentioned how comfortable it is, but I think it is a little bit quieter out on the road than the Ram. I mean, the Ram was really quiet too, but this is really good. You can put the exhaust in its quiet setting. You go ahead and put on the adaptive cruise control. You set the steering assist, which is phenomenal. It does a really good job of like automatically steering and keeping you in your lane. It's really good. It makes driving this car on the highway a breeze, and I was worried that with those massive 37-inch tires that this thing would just kind of feel all over the place, that it would be hard to keep in its lane on the highway. But no, it's actually really stable. It's really easy to drive. I would have no problems with the Raptor being my only vehicle, so long as I lived in a state that didn't have super tiny roads and I had the space, because it is enormous on the road. That is one thing. If you live somewhere with narrow highways or narrow back roads, this thing is quite wide, but the steering does a really nice job of making you feel like you are in control of the whole experience. So in terms of daily drivability, the Raptor is great. All right, so now that we've got all that boring stuff out of the way, I'm sure you want to know, what does the Raptor handle like on a really nice mountain back road? Well, we've found a really nice mountain back road, and we are taking this massive truck with 37-inch tires up it, and I want to just say I am shocked by how stable and how controlled this is, even in an environment that it was absolutely not built to do. It was not built to take this road at speed, but I love it. The suspension travel is so good. You can just set it in, and it's really easy to control. The steering is really good on this road. I have it in the sport setting where I have a little bit more heft to it. The steering really does change up quite well when you put it into the sport mode. The throttle is super responsive at this speed. The only thing I'm not super confident in is the brakes, and I definitely don't want to go over one of these ledges here, because I am way away from society right now on this road. But I love this engine. It's really torquey, it's really powerful. No, it's no T-Rex, but honestly, in a vehicle of this size, like, what do you really need more power than this for? It's such a big vehicle that you can't hit outrageous speeds in a corner like this anyway, at least on the road. So the power that I have here is more than adequate. Ford has not quoted me a 0 to 60 time on here, but the old Raptor would do it in maybe the high 5-second range, maybe a little under 6 seconds. So I'm going to assume it's around there. Now, that's not going to scare the Ram T-Rex, which can do it in 4.5 seconds, but in terms of the way it handles on the road, this is definitely up there with that Ram T-Rex in terms of how compliant its suspension is. That 5-link rear suspension definitely feels more complex than what you're going to get in a normal pickup truck. It gives you the sensation like you're driving a sports car. There's so much grip here that you really can just take these corners, and this was a really tight, challenging road that I was on, but the Raptor handled it extremely well and put a big grin on my face. This is not a sports car, but this is definitely a vehicle that you can have fun with. And like I mentioned, you can do a lot more with this, I think, on the road than you can with the T-Rex. You can go further in it, you can tow with it, you can do all sorts of things, you just get better fuel economy. And in terms of how it drives, I think the steering is actually a little sharper in this than in the Ram. I definitely feel like on this type of road, I have the confidence in the Raptor that I can take these corners with a fair bit amount of speed. So the Raptor on the road, it's a great daily driver, and you can have a lot of fun with it when you put it in sport mode. So on the road, I think Ford has made a complete success. Now it's time to find out what it's like off-road, so we're gonna hit the dunes. Right, so now that we've got the Raptor out on the road, let's go ahead and take it off-road. We're in the wash area. This is a very rutted, very stony area of this little piece of desert that we're driving in, and this is one of the perfect environments that Ford really developed the Raptor for. Higher speed, very high wheel travel type maneuvers where you can really get this truck up to a decent clip. You can play around with the steering in such a nice way. You can feel all of the adjustments that they've made to the steering, to the suspension, just the overall calibration of this truck when you drive it on an environment like this. You have so much connectivity. I've got it in the Baja mode right now, which is going to tune everything for high speed stability. We've got a little bit more stability, but not quite as much twitchiness from the steering, making it really easy to just slide ride the car through this type of loose surface. The dampers are obviously going to go into a special Baja mode where they have a nice amount of travel. The throttle is very easy. You can very easily control your speed on a surface like this, and it's like a giant rally car. It's so much fun. I can really feel that new rear suspension putting down the power. It feels less jittery, less bouncy than the old Raptor. And honestly, I know that Ram T-Rex has the headline performance figures that it can do on the road, 0 to 60, you know, top speed, quarter mile, all that stuff. But I gotta say, out here on this kind of stuff, I'm not really sure that 700 horsepower supercharged V8 is going to get you away from the Raptor. I know I only have a twin turbocharged V6 here, but I think in just terms of raw capability, based on what I just did on that rutted road, this is going to be just as quick as the T-Rex in most off-road situations. And next up, we're going to be doing a rally stage, possibly the most fun thing I'm going to get to do all day today. They have this really cool, really high-speed sand course set up. I'm going to take it at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. We're going to hit some really nice sweepers here, really test the high-speed stability of these Fox racing dampers, those live valve suspension that can really get this truck sideways on this type of terrain. This is so much fun. I really love the Baja mode. It's going to make everything nice and soft so you don't have to worry about bottoming out like I just did right there. Took a corner a little bit too sideways there. I'm going to make a mental note of that. Keep it a little bit more straight than I was just there. But the Raptor saved me pretty easily. It got right out of the sand. Just got to keep that momentum up. That's the big thing. Even with 35-inch tires, you just want to make sure that you're taking these corners nice and wide, really letting the car do its thing. Oh yeah, here we go. Feel the back end step out nicely. Give it a little Scandinavian flick ski. Here's where they told me I can do a jump if I want. Let's give it a little whoopsie woohoo. Oh yeah, we got some mad air there. That was crazy. We're gonna go ahead and slow down for this little down. And we're back. Apologize for that. That jump did a number on my camera equipment, but that was a whole lot of fun. We definitely got this truck airborne. Whole lot of fun after that. So yeah, good to know that you can do a jump. The landing was really not that bad. It did move my my camera equipment just a little bit, but you know, not a super harsh landing. It was very fun, and the truck stood up to it. All 4 tires still have air in them, which is obviously a good thing. So yeah, happy to report that rallying in the F-150 Raptor, super exciting. This is just so much fun. You can just enjoy yourself so much in this capacity. Here we go over the dune, woohoo! A little bit more speed than I had last time. Look at, woohoo! Yes! Let's sum up our time in the 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor off-road. This thing proved to be so capable. To use the cliche, it's built Ford tough. You know, I think you guys were pretty much expecting that at this point from a Raptor. This was an icon for a reason. They really invented this segment so that Ram could come along with a product like the 1500, and that wouldn't have really existed without the Raptor. And I know some people are going to say, well, this only has a V6, but I'm here to tell you that off-road with the speeds that you can hit in this, you really don't miss the extra power. This thing is super capable off-road and an amazing overall livable truck. So let's sum up our time with the 2021 Ford F-150 Raptor. Pricing is going to start at $64,145, making it significantly less expensive than the Ram 1500 T-Rex, although the Ram 1500 T-Rex is significantly more powerful. The big package is going to be that Raptor 37 Performance Package for $7,500, gets you the massive 37-inch tires and the upgrades on the interior. Now, it's not just $7,500, you also have to add the 801 R1A interior package, bringing the total up to $13,650. It's definitely possible to get the Raptor up to about $80,000, making it very expensive like it always has been, but I think that there is no reason why you should not consider this. I think that it is definitely as capable as the Ram 1500 T-Rex off the road. I think it's just as quiet and comfortable on the road. It's a little bit cheaper, and because of that V6 engine, you can go a lot further. You can actually tow a little bit more as well. And because the Ram is such a gas guzzler, you might have a more practical experience with the Ford F-150 Raptor. It's a great all-around truck.